The guys who qualified first and second, Dylan Kwasniewski, Greg Persley, will restart this race here in the Evergreen 200. It's going to be fun to watch.
It certainly is here. What a great start by Kwasniewski on the inside. Persley fights back hard on the outside.
Kwasniewski saying, hey, I'm going to give you a battle here. Persley going for the lead after cutting down a tire, going all the way to the back of the field, now side by side with his teammate.
Yeah, Kwasniewski does not want to give this lead up. Here they are side by side. Kwasniewski just eases out in front here.
Persley not giving up on the outside.
Oh, somebody in the outside wall. Is that Moses Smith?
He did graze the outside wall. You're right, Moses Smith did. Meanwhile, Persley gets his nose out in front of the young kid, Kwasniewski.
Well, Persley drove it hard down in turn number 3. Got a good run through the center of the corner. But Kwasniewski fights back up off the corner.
Greg Persley, who has won 5 races this year. It looked like something finally was going to go wrong for him here tonight when he had that flat tire, but he has made it back up front. Persley, your pole sitter, now in the lead again.
He had his teammate cleared but did not pull down in front of him. He left the bottom open for Kwasniewski.
Again, these guys are teammates, so you know the racing is going to be pretty clean right here.
Greg went really wide that time, down to 1 and 2. And Kwasniewski able to pull over in front of him to regain the lead.
Eric Holmes in 3rd place. Dylan Kwasniewski, 16 years old, began the season too young to even have a driver's license. He's now leading the veteran Greg Persley. You're right, Phil. This might be the night he wins.
Absolutely. See Michael Self having a good run. He's right behind Eric Holmes in the 4th spot. There's Moses Smith. He recovered, only lost a spot. Good battle for 8th right now. Frazier, the local driver, and Luis Martinez Jr. in the 6th car.
Frazier, for a good part of this race, was up in the top 5. But it's pretty tough to stay there when you've got guys like Kwasniewski, Persley, Eric Holmes.
Michael Self there in the 4th spot.
Well, it looks like now these 4 cars are definitely the class of the field and the ones who are going to have a chance to win it here tonight.
I think Greg Persley right now may be just in a ride mode. He wasn't able to wrestle the lead away from his teammate.
You saw Jeff Barkshire, who won this race in 2008, last time they were here. He has dropped back in a little bit in the field.
Still in the top 10, though, as well as Frazier, our other local driver. And Nemo Lang, also our 3rd local driver, also running in the top 10 right now in the 07 car. See, Brett Thompson has had trouble. He's on pit road, which is actually the 3/8 mile track within the big track.
A tough break for Brett Thompson. He'd been having a great run here tonight.
There's Jack Sellers, 15 car moving way over to give the leaders room.
Yeah, that engine not really up to snuff right now. Holmes and Self battling for 3rd place.
Michael Self would love to get by Eric Holmes and see if he can do something with our 2 front runners right now, the teammates Kwasniewski and Persley.
Michael Self, of course, has some help on that team from Richard Childress Racing, which has really been a big plus for them.
Steve Portengay up on the box calling the shots for Michael Self.
You know, and when you're mentioning crew chiefs with Kwasniewski out in front, we might mention Jeff Jefferson, who may have won more races on this track than anybody else. I know in that Northwest Tour Series, he was absolutely dominant.
Yeah, without a doubt. So it's not only Kwasniewski has a great equipment, but also has a great driver in his own right as his crew chief up on top of the pit box here.
Who has a lot of local knowledge about this racetrack. The Jefferson family, they're all legends here. The dad, George Jefferson, in the West Coast Racing Hall of Fame. Their Self putting a lot of pressure on Eric Holmes.
These guys have battled ever since the restart after the halftime break.
And again, all Eric Holmes wants is a victory. This is a guy who has had no luck at all this year, but It's been Greg Pursley's year. It's been one of the most amazing years in the history of this series. Herschel McGriff has the most wins in a season in this series, 12. That was back when they ran 30 races.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be, you know, I think right now they have 14 races in the series.
Right.
And Greg Pursley, it's not out of the question that he could win 12 because he's won 5 out of 7. He's only not won 2 races, and they both were top 5 finishes.
Boy, if he does that, only guy who's done anything like that in NASCAR was Richard Petty back in the 60s when he won everything.
Yeah, in 1967, Richard Petty won 27 races in the Cup Series. Now, that's back when they ran 55 to 60 races, so they ran a lot of races, but he probably won half of them.
Yeah, it's still amazing. Kwasniewski out in front. Pursley, and I agree with you, Pursley just biding his time here till we get down the last 30 laps of this race.
All he has to do right now is keep the leader in sight, and he has that. He's actually been able to gain on Kwasniewski a little bit here. We saw Kwasniewski with about a 10-12 car length lead a few laps ago. Now Greg's closed it in to 2 or 3 car lengths. Really runs through the center of the corner. You saw Pursley run through the center of the corner. Then Kwasniewski able to get on the throttle and open it up about a half a car length more coming off the corner.
Yeah, I mentioned Herschel McGriff, who'd won 12 races. Jack McCoy, who has more wins than anybody else in this series, won 11 races back in 1973. Another guy who's been really dominant in this series, and Pursley has reminded a lot of folks of what those two guys accomplished.
Yeah, I talked to Greg, and he said, I don't know, just everything just goes so right. He said, my communication with my crew chief, Jerry Pitts, Gene Price gives us everything we need to work with. He said it just couldn't be a better situation.
You know, sometimes you have years like this, and if you're a driver, this is what you dream about.
You just don't want it to end. You want to keep it rolling.
There you see Darrell Haar, who's out in front of Berkshire. Good run tonight for Darrell Haar, the former Canadian champion. He's been in this series for a long time veteran.
Yeah, Darrell had a 6th place finish at Vegas earlier this year. That's his best finish of the year, but may be able to better that here tonight. Has a pretty good car running ahead of 2 guys that know their way around this racetrack for sure.
You know, Dylan Kwasniewski, and Phil, you're very involved with the Truck Series and other series in NASCAR. We're seeing right now David Mayhew start to make a move up. I think Kwasniewski, we're going to see down the road. This is a kid that's got the ability to move on in NASCAR.
Without a doubt here, especially at just barely 16 years old and able to run with people like Greg Pursley and Eric Holmes and Moses Smith. So his future is extremely bright.
David Mayhew, by the way, not here tonight, and I know you think he's a guy that's got quite a future.
Oh, without a doubt, he's done a great job running Kevin Harvick's truck, and we'll run that again here a couple more times, as well as possibly even running his own truck.
Well, that's the purpose of this K&N Pro Series West, to get guys ready to move on up to other series.
Yeah, part of the ladder system of NASCAR, and it's working extremely well.
You continue to watch Darrell Haar as Berkshire, who has been an infrequent runner in this series of late, trying to put a little pressure on him.
We talk about him winning that race here. The last time we were here in 2008, he was actually Rookie of the Year in the West Series. That year in 2008, ran the full schedule, finished in the top 5 in points.
This is the first race that Berkshire has run this season.
Darrell Haar goes a little bit high. Berkshire tried to stick the nose underneath him, but Darrell was able to get back in the throttle, stay out in front.
Phil, I think you understand this as a racer. You talk to guys like Jeff Berkshire, and they say, you know what? We don't have a lot of money. We're underfinanced, but I'm a racer. I'm not going to come to a racetrack unless I got a car I think I can run up front.
Well, without a doubt, and I think they save their resources to put it all together, especially knowing that they can be competitive here at this racetrack, and it's local to them. So, see, Kwasniewski now has opened up a little bit more of a lead from the last time we looked at him in person.
Kwasniewski really hooked up. Talk about that. Another guy, Jason Finsler, holds up his races back, his race schedule, till he thinks he can win. He's been successful.
Been competitive every single time that he's been in the car, as well as a win earlier this year.
Kwasniewski, and you look at the distance he has on Greg Pursley, but is it time for Pursley to make a move? We'll see when we come back to Evergreen.